For £26, you get exactly 15 millilitres of this. That works out at £1.73 per milliliter. And the question you need answered before you hand over that money is simple: is this the real deal, or a miniature money grab dressed up in a fancy bottle? Acqua di Giò Eau de Parfum. Not the original. Not the Profumo. The EDP. And here's the thing most people get wrong about this fragrance: they dismiss it because they think they already know what Acqua di Giò smells like. They don't. Stay with me, because by the end of this video I'm going to tell you whether this 15ml spray is the smartest fragrance purchase you'll make this year, or whether you're better off spending that money elsewhere. The answer genuinely surprised me. Giorgio Armani needs no long introduction in fashion, but in fragrance? The house has built something genuinely remarkable. Since 1996, Acqua di Giò has been one of the best-selling fragrances on the planet. Not one of the best-selling designer fragrances. One of the best-selling fragrances, full stop. That's not hype. That's commercial fact. But here's what makes Armani's approach to this lineage interesting. Rather than resting on that original formula, they've done something most houses refuse to do: they've kept building on it. The Profumo arrived in 2015 and shifted things darker, earthier, more masculine. Then came the Eau de Parfum, which sits in a fascinating middle ground. It retains the aquatic DNA that made the original iconic, but layers in a warmth and depth that the original simply couldn't deliver. Armani's philosophy has always been about understated luxury. Clean lines. Nothing excessive. And this fragrance reflects exactly that mindset. It's not trying to shout. It's not trying to be the most complex thing in your collection. It wants to be the fragrance you reach for without thinking, and that's a harder thing to achieve than people realize. Now, this is a 15ml spray, so we're not talking about the full architectural statement of the standard bottle. But even at this size, the Acqua di Giò EDP carries itself well. The glass is clean and weighty for its dimensions. That signature frosted and clear glass combination, the simple cap, the restrained Armani branding, it all communicates exactly what the juice inside smells like. Calm. Considered. Quietly confident. The spray mechanism on this miniature size is precise. You're not getting a soaking blast, it delivers a fine, controlled mist, which actually works in your favor when you're trying to make 15ml last. The packaging is minimal and tasteful. No elaborate box theater here. It's Armani. The name is the theater. Would I display it? At 15ml, it's more of a travel companion or a desk drawer resident than a shelf centerpiece. But the quality communicates itself. Pick this up and it doesn't feel like a sample or an afterthought. It feels like a proper, considered thing. That matters. Right. The moment of truth. The opening of Acqua di Giò EDP is, and I want to be very precise here, aquatic, but not in a cheap, synthetic sea breeze way. This is not a sunscreen advert. The marine accord that hits first is cool and mineral. There's something almost geological about it, like the smell of wet stone on a cliff face above the ocean. It's immediately familiar if you know the original, but there's a richness underneath that you don't get from the EDT. Within the first 30 seconds, you get a citrus brightness cutting through, bergamot and sea notes dancing together. It's fresh without being simple. The projection at this stage is confident. Not aggressive. This isn't a fragrance that announces itself from across a room and dares people to react. It announces itself at arm's length, which is exactly where a fragrance like this should live. The opening lives up to its reputation. It earns its place in the conversation immediately. Give it 20 minutes. This is where the EDP earns its concentration distinction. As the sharp aquatic top notes settle, something warmer starts to emerge from underneath. There's a soft, slightly smoky quality that begins to thread through the heart. Where the original EDT stays light and breezy throughout, the EDP starts to develop something more complex here. A gentle resinous quality. Not quite incense, not quite wood, but the suggestion of both. The marine heart remains present, but it's no longer dominating. Instead, it becomes a backdrop, a context, rather than the whole story. And this is the thing that genuinely surprised me about this fragrance: the transition is remarkably smooth. There's no awkward gear change. It just evolves, naturally, like a day that starts with a cool sea breeze and slowly warms into late afternoon. If you've only ever worn the original EDT and you think you know what this smells like, go and smell this heart phase. That's where the difference lives. That's where the EDP justifies its existence. 3 hours in, and this is where I think Acqua di Giò EDP makes its strongest argument. The dry down is warm, slightly musky, with a woody base that has real presence without ever feeling heavy. There's a patchouli note in there that I want to flag, because if you're someone who reacts badly to patchouli in its raw, earthy form, don't worry, here it's been handled with restraint. It adds depth and a subtle darkness, but it never takes over. It whispers rather than shouts. The overall effect on the dry down is a skin-close warmth with just enough of that original marine freshness still lingering to keep it from feeling stuffy. It's the best version of what this fragrance could be at this stage. Clean, warm, slightly mysterious. The kind of scent trail that makes someone want to lean in closer. Does it improve on the dry down? Yes. Genuinely yes. And that is not always the case with aquatic fragrances, which can often feel like they've simply evaporated and left nothing interesting behind. This one earns its ending. Let's be honest about this, because I know some of you have been burned before. On skin, you're looking at roughly 6 to 8 hours with moderate projection. In the first 2 hours, it sits about arm's length from your body, noticeable to anyone close to you without being room-filling. After that, it settles into a skin scent that lasts well into the evening. It doesn't disappear, it just becomes more intimate. On clothing, longevity improves noticeably. Spray it on a collar or a cuff and you'll still be catching moments of it the next day. That's the EDP concentration doing its job. Sillage is moderate and appropriate. This is not a powerhouse. If you want something that fills a room and demands attention, this isn't it. What it does instead is create a scent aura that people notice when they're near you. That's a different kind of power, and honestly, for most social and professional situations, it's the more sophisticated choice. Best time to wear it? Morning into evening. It's versatile enough to work from an office environment right through to a dinner out. The warmth it develops makes it slightly more evening appropriate than its EDT sibling. Right, let me paint some pictures for you. If you're the type who rotates between 3 or 4 quality fragrances and you want something that handles Monday through Friday without ever putting a foot wrong, this is for you. It's the fragrance equivalent of a well-cut navy suit. Reliable, appropriate, and still genuinely good. If you're someone who travels regularly and wants an EDP quality scent in a size that clears airport security without a second thought, the 15 ml size here is genuinely practical. This is a fragrance that earns its place in a travel bag. If you're a younger fragrance lover stepping up from body sprays and exploring what a proper EDP smells like for the first time, Acqua di Giò EDP is an exceptional introduction. It's complex enough to educate your nose without being intimidating. Now, and this is important, who should not wear this? If you exclusively chase niche, statement fragrances that start conversations and polarize rooms, this will bore you. It's not designed to provoke. If you want something avant-garde, something that makes people stop and ask what on earth you're wearing, look elsewhere. This fragrance operates in the space of refined, confident comfort. That's a virtue, but it's not for everyone. Also, if you already own the original EDT and you're completely happy with it, the EDP is an evolution rather than a revolution. It's better, in my opinion, but it's not a transformation. Know that going in. Okay. The numbers. £26 for 15 millilitres. That's £1.73 per milliliter. For a Giorgio Armani EDP at full retail, that is genuinely competitive. The standard 100 ml bottle of this fragrance can sit comfortably above £80 at many retailers, which works out at a similar per ml rate, but requires a much larger upfront commitment. So what you're getting here is essentially a full quality entry point into a premium fragrance without the £80 gamble. For a new fragrance lover who's never tried this, or someone who wants to verify whether they love it before committing to a full bottle, the 15 ml option at p-11.com makes considerable sense. You can find it at p-11.com for £26, and frankly, that's a sensible way to spend that money. Now, am I paying for the liquid or the name? Both, honestly. The Armani branding commands a premium. But the quality of this juice justifies a meaningful portion of that premium. This is not empty branding on mediocre perfumery. If you want a cheaper alternative that scratches a similar itch, look at Davidoff Cool Water Intense. It occupies similar aquatic warm territory at a lower price point. It's good. But it's not this. My score? 7.5 out of 10. The half point it loses is for Sillage that could be more impressive, and the fact that the 15 ml format, however practical, limits its appeal as a shelf piece. The 7.5 it earns is for beautiful evolution from opening to dry down, genuine longevity for an aquatic EDP, and a price point that respects the buyer's intelligence. Acqua di Giò Eau de Parfum is what happens when a house takes a beloved classic and genuinely improves on it rather than just repackaging nostalgia, and at £26 for 15 ml from p-11.com, it's one of the more honest value propositions in designer fragrance right now. Here's what I want to know from you: if you've worn both the original EDT and this EDP, which dry down do you prefer, and did the extra warmth of the EDP feel like an improvement or did it lose something that made the original special to you? Drop it in the comments, I read every single one. And if honest fragrance reviews without the hype are what you're after, subscribe. I post every week and I will never tell you a fragrance is perfect when it isn't.